Hello, today we'll begin with our chapter 2 business structure. What are the learning intentions? In this chapter, you will learn how to classify industries in two levels of economic activity primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary and analyze changes in their relative importance. Understand the differences between the private sector and the public sector in your country. Identify the different forms of legal structures of business and evaluate the most appropriate one for different business. Analyze the advantages and disadvantages of changing from one type of business ownership to another. Let's go to this 2.1 economic sectors. Business activity and ownership can be classified in a number of ways. One of these is by identifying which type of product or service is being produced. Primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary economic sectors. Business activity produces a vast range of different goods and services. It is possible to classify these into four broad types of business activity. These broad categories are based on the stages involved in turning natural resources such as oil and timber into the finished goods and services demanded by the consumers. The stages take place in primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary sectors of industry. Let's go to another thing. The balance of these sectors in the economies of different countries varies substantially. It depends on the level of industrialization in each country. Table 2.1 shows the differences between the three countries and the change in importance of these sectors in Ghana since 2008. United Kingdom, primary 1.2, secondary 18.1%, and tertiary and quaternary 18.7. China is like equally almost 26.1 in primary, 27.6 in secondary, 46.3 in tertiary. In Ghana, it is 33.8% primary, 18.6 secondary, 47.6 tertiary. Changes in relative importance of economic sectors. The classification of business activity by economic sectors has two important features: changes over time and variations between different economies. The importance of sectors changes over time. The importance of each sector in an economy changes over time. In Ghana, as shown in Table 2.1, the primary sector is reduced and the secondary sector increased between 2008 and 2019. The growing importance of secondary sector manufacturing industries in developing countries is called industrialization. The relative importance of secondary sector activity is increasing in many countries in Africa and Asia. The relative importance of each sector is measured in terms of either employment levels or output level as a proportion of the whole economy. Consequences of industrialization. Benefits. Total national output or gross domestic product increases and this raises average standards of living. Increasing output of goods can result in lower imports and higher exports of such products. Expanding manufacturing businesses will result in more jobs being created. Expanding and profitable firms will pay more tax to the government. Value is added to the country's output of raw material rather than just exporting these as basic unprocessed products. Consequences of the industrialization problems. The chance of work in manufacturing can encourage a huge movement of people from the countryside to towns, which leads to housing and social problems. Imports of raw material and components are often needed, which can increase the country's imports cost. Much of the growth of manufacturing industry is due to the expansion of multinational companies. These can have a negative impact on the economy too. In developed economies, the situation is reversed. There is a decline in the importance of secondary sector activity and an increase in the tertiary sector. This process is termed deindustrialization. In the UK, the proportion of total output accounted for the secondary industry has fallen from 38% to 20% in 25 years. Causes of this change include rising incomes associated with higher standard of living have led consumer to spend much of their extra income or services rather than more goods. There has been substantial growth in tourism, hotels and restaurant services, financial services and other services. However, spending on physical goods has risen more slowly. Manufacturing businesses in developed countries face more competition as a result of increasing global industrialization. These rivals tend to be more efficient and use cheaper labor. Therefore, rising imports of goods are taking the market away from the domestic secondary sector firms.